Hi, everybody at Advertising Week. I'm Harry Cargman, the founder and CEO of Cargo. We have a super interesting and exciting panel and session today with some incredible people. And we'll be talking about the retail economy, specifically the new retail economy post-March of this year. So let me give you the synopsis first. There is a different retail economy now happening since March of this year and the shutdown. We've seen massive shifts in shopping habits since in 2020. Retailers have had to shift their supply chains, respond to consumer demand in new ways, and even alter how consumers are delivering their goods. So here we are with the retail leaders from so many different interesting parts of the economy who are focused on giving us insights and an understanding of the trends that we faced thus far and some of the things to expect in the future. So let's kick off this particular panel. We have three amazing panelists. First is Samuel Bright, who's the VP of Verticals at eBay. Samuel. Second, we have Eric Edge, who's the SVP of Marketing and Communications at Postmates. Love using Postmates, and my kids love it too. And finally, we have Kay Bison. Is that pronounced correctly, Kay? I've known you forever, but I've never pronounced your last name.
It's actually Kay Vizon, but that's okay, Harry.
Kay Vizon, and I will say it from now on, who's the Director of Media Services, a friend of mine, and basically runs Kroger's media budget as we know it today with all of the variety of media services that Kroger does. So since we have a true international audience, I think the best way to kick this off is to give each of you a chance to talk a little bit about your business, maybe introduce it to the global audience so that they know just where you fit in the economy, what your business does, and then we can get into the discussion. So let's start with Samuel. Why don't you take us through, I mean, many people know what eBay is and what it does, but why don't you take us through a little bit from your vantage point of who you are and how the business is changing?
Thanks so much, Harry, and it's awesome to be with this audience today and to share a little bit about how the retail economy is changing in these very unusual times that we are facing as a society. So like Harry mentioned, my name is Sam Bright. I'm the VP of Verticals at eBay. Essentially, we're responsible for the inventory that's sold on eBay.com and collecting and connecting the millions of buyers and sellers around the world to have delightful experiences as they transact on our platform. We just celebrated our 25th birthday earlier in September, and we bring together products and goods from across the spectrum. For sellers and businesses in this competitive world of retail, we empower brands and we connect them with 182 million shoppers across 190 countries every single day. You know, what sets us apart is that we don't compete with our sellers or brands. We support them. We're a pure marketplace. We don't own inventory. We instead partner with our sellers to level the e-commerce playing field, making innovative technologies available no matter how big or small the seller is, from an SMB to an individual to a large brand or retailer selling on our platform. And for buyers, eBay offers shoppers the great value, the unparalleled choice, and the experience that expires that our wide array of selection with over 1.5 billion items listed on our platform. People come to our site because of that breadth of selection. And it's everything from convenience items to commodity items to passion items, from the hottest, newest products to automobiles to luxury to manufacturer refurb, overstock, vintage, and collectible items. We have sellers who bring that inventory to the platform because they know it's going to sell, and we have buyers who come because they know they can find exactly what they want and what they need amongst the array of inventory on our platform.
That's great. And so you're really an inventory opportunity for sellers, and you're a marketplace. You don't necessarily hold your own inventory or have your own brick and mortar shops that you actually stock. Eric, you're the next one on my screen if I actually look at my particular Zoom. Huge fan of Postmates, but obviously for the international members who are zooming in on this Zoom session, why don't you share a little bit about Postmates, what makes you different and special, and then some of the things that you're seeing actually today.
So Postmates is one of the leading on-demand delivery platforms in the US, primarily on-demand food delivery. So think of your local favorite restaurants. We're able to bring those to you pretty quickly, call it 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You have your favorite local restaurants delivered to you. And Postmates is interesting. You know, we've been around about 8-9 years, and Postmates actually founded the concept of on-demand delivery in the US. If you think back 8 or 9 years ago, there were ways to place orders through the phone, but there actually wasn't a way to get your favorite local restaurants delivered. There were a few big chains, some of those we all know and love, where you could get maybe a pizza delivered, but it was really hard to get your favorite local restaurants. And you know, our founders at the time were onto something and said, you know what? There's a bunch of amazing local restaurants that we love going to, but the only way to get them is if you go and place an order and then go pick it up and bring it home. And what if we could get those delivered? And so Postmates was born. Fast forward to today, we serve 80% of the US. We have the most merchant selection in the US with about 600,000 merchants on our platform. And Postmates is not just food. So, you know, the interesting thing, and I think we talk about the future of retail, well, there is food that is a big part of that, and that's really important. But there's a bunch of other things that you could get on the platform as well. And, you know, we've seen a lot of those accelerate over the past 7 months, where people are not just coming to get their favorite local restaurant on Postmates. Maybe they're coming to get stuff they need from Walgreens because they aren't leaving the house. And so that's an area that Postmates has always been a player in, because of those 600,000 merchants, there's a good chunk of those that are not on demand, or I'm sorry, not prepared food. And so we've been bringing those to people here in the US over the past 8 or 9 years. You know, what makes us stand out, one of the things that really stands out for Postmates, we're the #1 platform in Los Angeles and the Southwest. And what that means is that we are able to lean into the lifestyle brand that we've built. And so I like to say that Postmates plays at the center in this intersection of food, technology, and culture. And that's something that we really love and that we bring to life, not just in the marketing that we do, but actually in the ethos that we live every day at Postmates.
It's fabulous. Thanks. And Kay, obviously, you're the next one on my box. And we go way back, and we love everything that Kroger's doing. Why don't you share with the audience who Kroger is and sort of the scale of how you operate here in North America, and maybe even beyond, I don't even know. And then some of the things that you're seeing in market.
Yeah, sure. So Kroger is probably the easiest one to explain, you know, as compared to my fellow panelists here. But we are America's largest grocer, you know, short and sweet, simply, that's who we are. We do operate as a family of stores, so we go by different names depending on where you are in the country. So in California, Southern California, you'll know us as Ralph's. In Arizona, it's Fry's Foods. So we go by different names depending on the country, and then everything pretty much east of the Mississippi and Texas, we go by the name Kroger. But it is a family of stores. We are an omni-channel retailer. We operate both online, offering pickup, delivery, and ship. And we also have our store locations in 35 states across the US, including the District of Columbia. We serve over 11 million customers daily, and we employ over 500,000 plus associates company-wide.
It's fantastic. And just get a sense of just how scaled your business is. And I think that takes us sort of to our first big question, which is, you know, it's been a roller coaster of a year. I think all of us have been challenged in new ways. What is the biggest single change that you've seen in your business this year? And when you look at that change, is that something that is here to stay, or do you think that there will be a shift back to what things look like pre-pandemic? Why don't we kick it off with you, Sam?
Yeah, thank you. I think we've seen a complete redefinition of normal in a lot of ways within retail in these moments. Not only has there been this like macro change of the acceleration from offline to online as people have been sheltering in place at home and trying to, you know, still figure out ways to transact. But we also see that some of that acceleration is probably here to stay. Even as brick and mortar stores reopen, many of them have now found alternative online channels like eBay as ways to reach a whole new set of customers. And we see that continued momentum, not only within our business, but we think that that's a bigger trend within retail. You know, just to give a few numbers, you know, as customers came online to shop and individuals came online to sell, you know, our business saw a significant pickup in activity. We are bigger than we've ever been before. We added 8 million buyers as we announced in Q2 2020. Our GMV, our gross merchandise volume, was up significantly in double digits. So our organic traffic was up 80% during that time as well. And we also saw a lift across the board in various categories. But some of the categories that stood out that were really interesting were tied to needs for folks who were, you know, adjusting to sheltering in place. So for example, we saw over 1,000 percentage point sales increase in clippers and trimmers. I could probably use one of those myself after having been sheltering in place for a while. In dumbbells, over 3,000%. In bidets, 220%. In gardening and composters, 270%. And so while we think that the overall trends of folks getting comfortable shopping online, if they have historically preferred or mostly shopped, you know, in person, while those will persist, the nature of the items that we sell will probably change as there are, you know, broader opportunities to go back to the way.
Super interesting, because you're actually seeing changes in consumption change, you know, behavior. People at home, they're trimming their lawn more. They're not going to the barber or to the stylist, so they're clipping their hair. And so you're seeing a total change and shift in what consumers are consuming based upon, you know, the shift in moving to home and obviously being locked down. Moving the other way around my screen, Kay, why don't you share, you know, obviously you were a necessary service. Your stores did not close probably at all during this entire period. But obviously people were scared to go out. Why don't you share a little bit about some of the things that you've seen and then what trends maybe are different and what are here to stay permanently?
Oh, goodness. So a lot to unpack there. So for us, with the pandemic, our most urgent priority was to provide the safe environment for our associates and our customers so that they could feel comfortable shopping in our stores during this pandemic. And so our focus has been meeting demand by making sure we're operating well-stocked stores, that we're following safety protocol, that we're creating e-commerce solutions, which is in much greater demand now more than ever, while also guaranteeing an efficiently operating supply chain so that the communities we serve have access to the fresh, affordable food and essentials that they need on a day-to-day basis. We are seeing a correlation between e-commerce usage and COVID-19 case trends in particular. So some of the things we saw is that as states started to reopen in May, customers did begin to switch some of their shopping trips back to in-store. However, when cases started rising again, the percentage of trips that are now being completed via e-commerce through, say, pickup or delivery has now increased again. So we do foresee that e-com grocery offerings are here to stay. People are getting more comfortable with it. We are just seeing a phenomenal growth just in our Q2 earnings. We're seeing plus 127% growth in e-commerce alone. Some of the interesting trends that we have seen, particularly pandemic shopping trends, have now evolved into what we're calling routine shopping trends. So for example, cooking and baking at home, they're now stronger than ever and they are not going away.
Eric, you know, your business was really built for this type of change in consumer consumption. You know, the stay-at-home desire for something great and tasty, a favorite, but without risk. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen, because your business probably accelerated more than most just because of the nature of your business and how sort of consumer trends changed.
Yeah, I think Kay hit it spot on. There's a shift and a change that I think is is going to be something that was accelerated for the long term and not just the short term. You know, we were in an interesting position because I think that March, first week of March, you could have looked at Postmates and said, Postmates is great for convenience. I don't want to leave the house. I don't have time to leave the house. Oh, you know what? I just made something for the kids, but I want something different. And so I'm going to order in. And it was a convenience play for a lot of people. And I think after the first week of March, what happened is there was a shift in how you approached a platform like Postmates from convenience to essential and at times necessity. And that's a very different place to be, I think. And it was interesting for us because not only were we providing this essential service to customers, but on the flip side to that, we had merchants and these small businesses and small restaurants that had to immediately shut their doors, and they had no way to connect with their customer unless it was delivery and potentially pickup at that time. And so what we started to realize was that not only were we for the customer providing this essential service to get them what they needed. Again, I used Walgreens as an example. There was something like a 250% increase on the week of March 9th from the week before in Walgreens. People immediately turned to Postmates to get the things that they needed, and that went well beyond food. So we were providing this service to the customer. For the merchants and the small businesses and small restaurants, we were their lifeline to getting their products or their meals into the hands of people. And then the third piece of our marketplace and the third piece of this bit is our fleet. And you saw people losing jobs left and right and people unemployment at these crazy high numbers. And we were there to provide employment to people who wanted to actually be part of the Postmates fleet and deliver food and other things to people while they were sheltering at home, obviously in a safe way. You know, you asked what changed. We quickly had to pivot. And the one great thing about being Postmates in a tech company is that we can do things really fast. And one of the things that we did really quickly was create non-contact deliveries. And so we were the first in our space to do it, to make it so that you can order something, it could be safely delivered to your doorstep, and you never have to interact with a human, so that you could do it in a way that was safe and that you were comfortable with, yet you could still have access to your favorite restaurants, grocery stores, or retailers. And so that was just, a fundamental shift in how you think about the business, even though, to what you said just now, it was core to who we are. We were built for this, right? Like we had all the pieces in place, but the perception and the understanding of who we are and what we do, and then the adoption of a platform like ours just greatly accelerated.
No, it's fantastic. And it's really interesting to see. What are the changes and the trends around discovery? I think in retail, especially with media and advertising, it's about driving either into store with UK, or it's about to the platform with you, Sam, or it's about discovery of the actual service, Eric, and like all the amazing things that you can bring people. Let's talk a little bit about how do you send the right message, your own media, how do you use that to propel products and product discovery on the platform? Let's start with you, Sam.
Thank you. No, it's a really important question. I think, we start with like what's authentic to our brand and to who we are. And we stand for economic empowerment for small business sellers across the country and around the world. And so we lean into that. We were one of the first to respond with Up and Running in the middle of this pandemic in terms of supporting some of our sellers who had to shutter their doors. And we carried that messaging not only through how we communicated what our brand stood for, but also in the way that we, deferred fees for a period of time and really were there for our sellers in times of need. And that carries both on both sides of the marketplace. The other thing I'd call out is just that, our whole platform with its breadth and with the barometer position that we play in the market because of the breadth of inventory that we possess actually enables us to get unparalleled insights into how customers are shopping for brands, which then helps us in terms of how we message them and partner with sellers on how they can message as well. Every month we amass 104 million hours of shopping across 108 million unique monthly shopping journeys across our 1.5 billion listings. So just think about all the data that provides to us that we then can use in terms of how we bring customers to our platform to shop with our sellers, and then also how it enables folks who advertise on our platform to be able to reach very different demographics.
That's super interesting. Kay, how have you thought about, how has your media shifted, reaching those consumers, driving the message? How has that changed in market?
For us, it has necessarily, it's just changed a lot. So as Harry, you know, for us, it's very much grounded on the customer. So we have our analytics firm in-house, 8451. And if you think about it, 11 million customers shopping daily in our stores. We just capture an incredible amount of data. And so what we do know is that roughly half of our customers have experienced some form of financial hardship as a result of the pandemic. And so as they're weathering changes, the discretionary purchases, eating out, those are the first things that they're cutting back on. And so as a result of this, we are seeing that customers are seeking value. They're comparing prices. They're using more digital and paper coupons. They're buying more private labels, such as our brand's products, because they want to maintain a strict budget while not sacrificing on quality. And we see this happening for the foreseeable future. Now, as a consequence, and on the media side, we're also seeing their media consumption habits change because people are staying indoors more. People are not commuting. Linear TV viewing is also down, but it has shifted into streaming video and OTT channels. So we are constantly tweaking and modifying our media mix to meet our customers where they are, and then having a good understanding of their need states and the jobs, the food jobs that they need to accomplish on a daily basis, delivering the most relevant messages to them, given their current state, given their focus on safety, their focus on value, their focus on eating well and quality and health and feeding their family well. And so, you know, it's just created a really dynamic media and marketing environment for us. And I'm sure both Sam and Eric can attest to this too. We are having to pivot.
No, it's super interesting to hear all of those changes. And Eric, obviously, as a service provider, you know, given all the pivots and changes in terms of that necessity, how are you communicating that, and how is your ability to communicate with consumers? Take us home.
Yeah, you know, again, as Sam says, it's authentic to the brand. And I think one thing that has remained consistent is that everything that we do looks, feels, and it creates the ethos that is Postmates. And I think that's first and foremost very important. Now, the way that we think about media has changed a bit, right? We love out of home. We were really heavy in out of home, and we still love it. We just had to pull back a little bit because people weren't out, as Kay said, in moving around in the ways that they were before. But there are other things that we've done, I think, to continue to drive awareness of Postmates and of the opportunity that you have with Postmates. And our partnership with the NFL that we just announced a few weeks back is one of those things. You know, one of the reasons that it made such great sense for us to partner as the on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL is because we know that everyone's really excited for sport to come back, but they're all consuming it in their house this year. And even though you may want to go to a game, or you may want to go out to a bar or restaurant and catch a game, that's probably not happening. And so it made a ton of sense for us to actually think of that as an opportunity to showcase how you can get your favorite food at home and watch football, enjoy Monday Night Football, Sunday, Thursday, and get Postmates from your local favorite restaurant. And so those are examples of ways that we've started to think about what the future holds for us and how to think about just media and partnerships in a little bit of a different way as we move forward.
Fantastic. Well, Sam, Kay, and Eric, I just wanted to thank all three of you for providing this incredible, interesting, insightful, and I think highlight session for Advertising Week. And I'm sure I'll be talking to all three of you, and we will continue to weather the storms of this very uncertain time with all of your thinking and intellect and curiosity, as well as a strategic vision moving forward. Thanks again for your time today, and looking forward to seeing you all again soon in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Harry. Thanks, everyone.